Welcome, 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 one and all, to a somber edition of 100 Talk, in which we're just not too happy with the outcome from this weekend, and so we're just going to have one moment of silence, all right? Everybody bow your heads with me right now. Thank you. Oh, nice synchronization there, man. Guys, this is 100 Talk. We talk 100 Thieves LCS. Rain or shine, and it's a rain weekend this weekend. I'm Cole, that's Jordan. We're fans, we're not experts, we don't know League of Legends very well, but we do know 100 Thieves very well. That's kind of our MO, and we're dads, and we're here to be your fathers. Spend some quality time with us.
We're powered by Ripid Energy Fuel.
Oh, thank you for mentioning that. Yes, the one and only Ripid Energy Fuel. I've got my green screen on, so you can't see the rest of my can as usual, because that's a lime wrecker, same flavor as you, Jordan. If you want to look at the when the camo is turned off, look at Jordan's camera. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's here's in case you need a reference point for this. We're gonna need this coal. We're gonna need this energy fuel.
We're gonna need this energy fuel. Good thing it's only $1 and available at like a Dollar General near you, or a Menards, or what else?
Or Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. Yeah, Dollar Tree, not Dollar General.
Remember I call it Family Tree?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Okay, so we're gonna do our typical program here tonight, where we'll make some observations about the games. We're not going in depth on the game analysis. We rarely do because we're stupid. But we'll make some general observations about that, then talk about the team in general, then hit some listener takes and predictions for the upcoming week. That's kind of what's on the docket for today. But first, before we start that, look, it was not a good week. It was not a good week. It was the worst week we've had this split. So
yeah,
I thought it was appropriate to remind you guys something that we've always stood for here on 100 Talk. We are not hot-blooded, overreact, the sky is falling people. That's not who we are. In fact, we were at the forefront of the TTP movement. And of course, TTP being time to panic! What do we do? Jordan! We're losing! It looks bad! I don't know what's going on. Hui and FBI even got smashed.
They were losing lanes. What was happening, Cole?
What do we do? Okay.
That klaxon went on for so long.
Okay, let's take a minute to just note that Jordan knew the exact name of that siren. Klaxon is indeed correct. I thought I was like the only non-military human being who knew that. Turns out Jordan knows it as well. So Jordan gets the gold star of the day.
Yes.
Taking it from Ryoma.
It's not going to our players, Cole.
Oh gosh, that was harsh, man. But look, it's time to be harsh.
Yeah.
It's time to be harsh. Here's what I will say in seriousness. It was not a good week. I'm not ready to burn anything down, and we shouldn't. We should always remember that what we're talking about here is like we're good enough to contend for a title, right? And that's the context we're talking about. We're not talking about like, oh my goodness, we are down there with like Golden Guardians and FlyQuest, and no, it's not that situation.
Were you gonna say CLG? You stopped yourself.
No. Of course I wasn't. But yeah, the team really, I mean, it started a little bit last week. We were starting to show some crumbling, and this week I think was definitely when the wheels came off. So I guess what we're going to do is talk about what we're noticing about maybe why the wheels came off. And I don't know if we necessarily have suggestions for fixing it, because that is not our job, nor are we capable. But just some observations about that, and not to say that we're going to lose everything and be knocked down the first round of playoffs or anything like that, but just to say, hey, we got some real things to fix right now. It did not look pretty. So that being said, Jordan, C9. This was my fault. I'll admit it. This one was totally my fault because I made the observation that we were probably going to finish out the split, winning against all of the top teams, being undefeated against them. And right on time, the C9 thing happens. I actually did get to watch this live. And the one thing that happened is draft. And when I saw their first 3 picks, I was like, we're done. We lost it. Their first 3 picks are picks that like historically we don't really handle well. And in particular, the Gwen and the Lucian. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like we, in our current state, cannot allow other teams to pilot Gwen.
Yep.
And Lucian is the same way. And Lucian's even worse because when we've played Lucian, I think just once, but when we played Lucian, it did not look good and it was not successful. So those picks really sent me into a panic, and I felt like it was a draft loss for us in particular, not the LS evaluation of the draft. You know, not like, oh, well, here's how my stats say. Here, let's look at the win rates and what runes are we running. I'm just saying for 100 Thieves, those are picks that are very difficult for us to play into. And yeah, so I left the draft feeling panicked already. You know what I mean?
That's making me nervous when you say that. This is echoes of it's the essence of we are becoming a solvable team. I think that's obvious because we're being tested and beat more in the last few weeks than we have in the previous rest of the split. And I do feel like this is part of it. Like I don't know. I feel like, did you look up? And if you didn't, this is not me putting you on the spot, but
he's putting me on the spot, everyone.
Oh, this is narrated voice. This Jordan putting Cole on the spot. A lot of our losses seem to come to Lucian.
Yeah, so Lucian is a big problem. We have lost, I think this split, we've played against a Lucian 6 times and have lost 5 of them, if I'm remembering right.
Crazy. 1, 2, I think we've lost
3, 4. Oh, we've played against it 5 and lost 4 is what it is.
That's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge.
The one time we won against Lucian, it was against Team Liquid.
Well,
surprisingly
free
enough.
win. So it's but that's bad. That's bad. That's a pattern that anyone can pick up on. Cole, the analysts in the league are certainly sharper than what we just demonstrated, and they will pick up on that. Cole, this is a team that has a hard time playing into Lucian for whatever reason. And then, like you said, the real bummer is like, oh no, but do we roll the dice and let them get it? It's like, yeah, do that. Don't ban it. Do not ban it against this team. You know, it's very man. I think we lost the game that we had Lucian on, or it was just like it was enough. I almost feel like that was the game where Abadaga didn't really do anything, and you said this feels like a pick he should have done more with. I think maybe that was one of the first times you made that observation.
Yeah,
specifically.
that was at the start of that kind of thinking. Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, man, that is concerning to me, and it feels like the other two as well, Gwen. Callista is one you mentioned in some of our notes.
Yep.
So these are concerns that I have that I don't feel. I can't explain them away. Jury's
out on Volibear, by the way, because if you remember, Golden Guardians wrecked us with Volibear, and that and the C9 game are the only Volibear jungle we've faced this split.
Yeah.
So jury's out on that, but that it's entirely possible because it did not look good for a lot of it, you know?
Yeah. And we had we had Viego. So, and we had Aphelios. You know, like we had some of the picks that people like to get.
You know what? We've had some of the power picks in bot lane that people like to get over the last game. So backing up just a bit, we've now lost 5 of our last 9. So we're 4-5 in our last 9 games. And FBI has gotten Aphelios or Varus 7 of those 9 games. Right? 2 of the power bot lane picks. So it's not like he hasn't been on, champions that can wreck people, but we've lost those games with him on those, like especially Philios. I felt like people have kind of been like, yeah, that's basically a if the game goes to 30 minutes, you win champ. And it hasn't really held true for us. I mean, we've won Aphelios games both during this kind of rough time and earlier. So, but yeah. It just feels like whatever is going on is more than just, more. It's like the way we're playing and the way we're drafting for us at the moment is not working out.
It's hard for me to not just talk in general terms on these.
Yeah,
but it feels
especially with where we're going. Yeah,
yeah. So I guess the other thing I look at is, this is not a meta forward comp that we had. Aphelios, LeBlanc,
yes.
Leona, Viego, Lee Sin in jungle. Like gone. It feels like gone are the days where we pick Lee Sin and it's like, where's he gonna go? Where's he gonna go? Where are they gonna put him next? Are they gonna make a new position? Like a jungle mid laner, and they're just gonna. What are they gonna do? I mean, for a while there, I was very excited because it felt like we would play standard, and that was almost our best look. And we would leave lane with these crazy leads, and it would just be the individual outplays that felt pretty secure.
Sure.
And in the last couple of weeks, that is no longer our reliable look. Which is bad, to state the obvious. And I think specifically going into playoffs, you kind of need that to be your best look. If gimmicks or surprises or pocket picks are your best shot at a playoff series, I think that's a real problem, because do you get to run that 3 times reliably? Do you have 3 different kind of crazy comps that you can pull out and punish people with? Or more likely, do you have 1 in a best of 3?
I don't want to get too carried away down that path, because I feel like that kind of cuts both ways, and in fact cuts against the teams that beat us. I mean, like you're talking about like Tom Kench top for Immortals.
No, I feel like that's meta forward.
No. Yes, it is metaphor, but it's like you're talking about a team pulling out a pick once against somebody and beating them. It's like, can you do that 3 times? Well, that's kind of what happened for Immortals, right? It's like, okay, are we going to let them play Tom Kench? If we play Immortals in best of 5, are they going to get Tom Kench every time?
No,
they have to have enough. So all I'm saying is, like, I want to couch that, noting that it works both ways for the teams that we play against as well as for us.
But I think that creates a different problem. If you are having to, and we fully left the C9 game behind, which is fine, but if you aren't able to take that pick, which we saw us play Tom Kench,
100% agree with this. Yes,
and we put it in the wrong spot, and that's clear now. And I would love to see us play it somewhere else, but we haven't. We have to ban it now, or we have to try to answer it. Let's say that in a game 1 of a best of 3, somebody takes the Tom Kench, which was a nightmare. That was that was like Bjergsen zillion level trauma.
Yeah,
on that game. Yeah. That was I never want to see that champion again. If you have to ban that now, you are at a disadvantage for the rest of the series. That is I feel like that's a tried and true method in these best ofs. Take something, roll the dice in game 1. And even if you don't win that game, if that champion is such a problem that they're now permabanning it for the rest of the series because they're not prepared to play it, and they sure as heck don't want you to have it, that the other team gets 2 bans for the first round, right? Like that's how that works. So
yeah,
that's a real disadvantage to have. And I think the fact that not only that because I think up to this point, when we've pulled out standard, we have absolutely rolled people, and not up to this very game,
right,
the C9 game.
Mm-hmm.
It's been shaky for
prior
a little
to
bit
weeks,
now.
yes, yeah.
But it's been reliable, and so if people try to bring out like the meta forward pick, it's like that's fine. You can do that, and maybe you do get 2 or 3 kills on some day, but you're down, 40 CS and 2 turrets to FBI. So good luck with that. Abadaga is pretty consistently blowing you up. Closer is going to get a triple or a quadra, so have fun.
Yeah.
Those things have been there, and they're not right now, and that's a big problem for us.
Yeah. It's definitely turned. It's definitely changed, and especially concerning even when we get into positions where we are still ahead early. You know what I mean? Like what you talked about, the MO used to be we play standard, and despite the best efforts of the other team, we just come out with a lead and then we never give the lead up. Well, now we're coming out with a lead and giving it up, or coming out even and giving it up. Like this in this game, the C9 game, believe it or not, we were up 4-1 on turrets, and it had a 2,700 gold lead at 19 minutes into the game.
That's crazy.
Yeah. 4-1 in turrets, 2,700 gold lead. That's not really a situation where I'd be like, oh, yep, things not going well. This looks bad, especially at 19 minutes, right?
Yeah,
so
that's big.
Whatever the problems that 100 Thieves are having it's gone beyond we just don't know how to play from behind, right? I think we can say that definitively now. And the longer that this split has been playing out, the more people have been able to find the weakness and step on it.
Yeah.
But individually, it didn't look so great either, right? Vulcan, did you made special mention of Vulcan, who loaded up the Nautilus hook with magnets, with hyperconductive magnets. He dipped it in liquid nitrogen before he went out and superconducted his way to hooking every champion from any distance all weekend. What was going on there, man?
He was just hitting. Like it there are not many games where it looked like, and look, Hui I think still had a game that you would, if you just looked at his clips in isolation, you say solid game, right? Like he hit more than one multi-solar flare, his
crucial ones. Yep.
Now he did not play the perfect game, and I think that's another thing we'll talk about is I think lane phase was particularly kind of like, if I'm thinking of the right plays, there were multiple plays this weekend where lane phase we just got beat in lane, which never happened before.
In this one, we had that weird 4-person dive down bot, which looked good at first, and then they cleaned up 2 on the back end. It might have been just 3. I think it was 4 though, and they cleaned up 2 on the back end of that to kind of even it out and kind of erase it. And I think obviously we still got the turret first, but to me, it seemed like what Vulcan was doing was, you typically are used to a Nautilus, like flash depth charge to hook or flash hook and like really starting off a team fight, right?
Right.
It felt to me like what Vulcan was doing was when it looked like the fight was kind of over and teams were going to disengage, he would just have a hook come off the flank out of nowhere and just like, no, you're not getting away.
Right. And I got one of your carries. So good luck with that.
Yeah.
And it's Aphelios. So where's he going?
Right.
He's going nowhere.
Yeah. So that's what it felt like to me. It just felt like Vulcan was finding the way to not let a fight be over. And C9 just stuck to the fights longer than we were prepared to stick with them. So that can be particularly frustrating when it erases whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay, cool. We have this great play. And then because we stuck around too long or because, we didn't get away from the hook at the end, we actually gave it right back over. And now maybe they have tempo or something like that. That just seemed to happen over and over again for me.
Yeah. Yeah. He was really good. Some hex flashes, I think they showed the pro view of his hook in mid, which was just disgusting. He's a great player. He always has been. And I think this is one of those games where he was flexing and it hurt us a lot. So yeah, that was, that was a game, I think, where it just looked, the impact that he had was different from who he was able to do. And I think a lot of it, if you think about who he specifically, no question that Vulcan came out looking like a stronger support player in this one. I think for Hui, a little bit of it was the damage just wasn't there to back it up. Like there were engages he had where he hit and we just didn't start, and that was tough, right? Like, he was kind of doing his job, but it just wasn't there. Either the positioning wasn't right or the power spike wasn't there for us to kind of decisively follow up and knock enough of C9 out of the fight to make it ours. So tough one, but yeah, Vulcan looked good.
What were you thinking about on Fudge's Gwen? early it seemed like we were setting it up to be just a frustrating, okay, I'm going to be a little behind. It's going to take me longer to come online. But whatever happened, it seemed like he came online just fine in the end.
Yeah. That was another one that was, I think I share your feeling about Fudge, where I don't particularly like him.
He's high up there in the most punchable NA rankings for me.
Yeah, he's talked a lot. He spent a lot of time talking, but he backed it up on this one, right? Like,
for sure,
he was a huge problem for us.
Can't take it away from him. Yep.
And he got the better of some kind of like isolated fights in the side lane. He got the better of some team fights. He came out through big with some base defense. So, and it's like you said with the Gwen, it's a champion where it's like, if you don't have a good answer for it, it's going to punish you everywhere.
Right.
And that's what he was up to. So
yep.
The thing that I think was a real bummer is we keep picking Viego. I have yet to see us play the Viego game where I'm like, that's our champ.
It is anemic for us. I don't think we've looked good on. We've looked maybe okay on it, but it always looks anemic. And I don't think we've played it more than like 3 or 4 times. I'm gonna go back and look here. But
I feel like we flexed it around a little bit.
The point stands is that whether it's closer or someday, it hasn't felt like the same Viego we see on other players. It looks like we've only played it 3 times.
Remember Finn when he played Viego?
Yes.
Oh, Saturday?
Yeah.
This week.
and again, we don't typically read chat and while we do this pod, but Agumame says it's really concerning how few meta champs we've seen 100T pop off on. And that wasn't the case at the beginning of the split, but second half of the split, it is for sure true. And Viego being one of those where, again, it just doesn't look like the same champion in our hands. And I'm not sure what the reason is for that. We Closer on it. We got a win against Team Liquid, but we dropped to EG with Closer. And of course we dropped this one to C9 with Someday on it. So haven't loved it. I have definitely not loved it. And I would like to see some change in the champ pool now to take some of these meta picks, especially Tom Kench. Like Someday on Tom Kench seems like it should be a slam dunk. You know, just think about like an unkillable champion that has immense team fight potential. I mean, how many, again, not to skip all the way to Immortals, but how many times did Revenge get to the back line during a team fight and knock up 2 or 3 guys? It was like every fight, man. And then he's unkillable.
He's got the easiest back line of any champion in the game.
That range is way too long.
He has he has his own personal realm warp that is on like a 15-second cooldown. It's insane. And when you arrive, you knock them up. It's crazy. And and then once you get there, you can actually just solo people out super fast. So Nightmare Champion. I would love for us to play it and not in a supportive manner. Yeah.
Now, so the way we've talked about this game, though, you would not think that we actually were in pretty good shape to win it.
Yeah.
There were a couple times where we kind of threw a little bit, most notably when we won a team fight and pushed down mid. I think it was after they took Baron and we cleaned them up. If I'm remembering that right, I don't remember exactly the setup to it, but the result was I think we had 3 alive and we pushed down mid and we took tier 3 turret and we took inhibitor. But instead of backing off, actually, I don't think it was Baron because I think we could have backed off and done Baron.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But maybe chat will correct me. But instead of backing off, regardless, we decided to push all the way for Nexus, and we got wrecked. And Fudge TP'd in behind FBI on the retreat as well to make sure we paid big time for it. Yeah. That play through the whole game. Like that was a definite throw. And I'm not sure why we thought we had to smash so hard there. Maybe they were looking at the scaling and just the calculus suggested that we should go now because it's Gwen, or whatever. But it just single-handedly destroyed the game for us. Like we despite everything that happened, we were still in position to win. We were still in position to at least contest. And lost that opportunity. bad, man. Like what? I don't have an excuse for it. There's no real explanation that I can think of. I did not get to see
comms for this game.
Well, yeah, and Closer did an interview with Travis, and I know Abed was on the Crackdown today. So, and I listened to with I Will Dominate.
Okay.
I got to listen to a little bit of that, and it was not mentioned in what I heard. I didn't get to watch Closer's interview with Travis. Maybe he talked about it then, but that was a really weird call. That's like what you see in your Silver Solar Q games where you're desperately begging the team to back off. They're like, no, push mid. We win this.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, we win.
And
yeah,
we did not win. In fact,
that's one
they
thing
won.
Yeah, right. The opposite, and the opposite happened. I feel like I've seen people talk about macro and kind of criticize it a lot.
Yeah.
And personally, I feel like I haven't seen the glaring issues. And I've talked about how I think that we do some of the, it's not like, look, this is not galaxy brain stuff, but you see us execute on some of the expected things for a team that's in first place, like that you have to do basically, right? Like punishing people on the opposite side of the map when they invest a lot in one side. Like those things happen. And I think that has helped us to get some of these early leads that we've enjoyed throughout the split. This for me felt like one of the first big ones where it's like, that was just the wrong call. And we made the call and we paid the price. And, like that was a devastating consequence.
At least the first one when the stakes were that high. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like you can make a bad macro call and give up a Rift Herald that you didn't need to, right? That can happen.
Right.
This was, you made the wrong call and then they beat you. So that felt pretty bad. The other thing I wanted to highlight is it was right after that play. And it was Someday trying to defend top tier 2 against Lucian.
Yeah.
And just died under turret.
To the culling. I don't think anything landed before the culling. I think it was just a culling
straight up
0 to 100 or 100 to 0. Yeah.
And I just feel like that for me is the epitome. It's the epitome of Viego. It's like, bro, you had a turret. It wasn't a 1v1 because you were at your turret. And there was no need for, like, it's not like you caught him in the middle of the map and it was a 1v1v bro situation.
The problem was our turret hadn't gotten enough farm. It was a little weak.
I see. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. The CS was too low on the
turret.
If
we would have funneled a little more to that turret, we probably would have come out of that one okay. But
I agree. If we had bought it the rapid fire cannon, give it that little range boost, that hurt. Because that was like, it's like, all right, we're going to be able to save. Like the split push is stopped. We're going to be able to save top tier 2. We got a little bit more time here. But no, it's like, nope, another 50 seconds for Someday before you can play again. And you lost your turret. Sorry. And you got more gold.
Yeah.
So,
well,
insult to injury.
Weird decision making and bad macro is probably, I think, like the thing that's plaguing us right now. Just in general, it's going to be a theme that runs through all of these games that we're talking about and all the general stuff we're going to talk about later. So just as we go and you're taking your notes for the exam, make sure to mention those examples. CLG was an interesting game too, because, we should have lost that game. We really should have lost that game.
That shouldn't be something you say about your game against CLG. Let me just put that out there.
And it shouldn't be something you say about your game with CLG with Demonte in mid.
Mm-hmm.
But Demonte was doing what he always does, which is looking good early when he plays for a team. First few weeks go great, usually. He looked good, like there's no doubt about it. He gave up the stupidest first blood I've seen in a really long time. All right. So let's get that out of the way. That first blood he gave over in River was so questionable. I can't believe it. And I think the call on Cass was something like, that's not your team. And part of me wonders if that really was like in his blood, like seeing those names and just thinking, oh, Closer. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
my
going
guy
in.
Closer.
That's actually a really good point.
Some part of it is like, what? Is there something to that here? Because I can't explain his positioning otherwise. Mm-hmm. Now, that being said, for the rest of the game, Demonte was basically trashing us. He made one other big mistake when he face checked that brush when Closer was on the other side with Oracle Lens. and they got the kill on him. And without that kill, we probably lose the game.
Yeah.
So,
Jeez.
when it comes to decision making and play making and all that stuff, one of the things you mentioned is his realm warps. I mean, he was on Rise, and we saw very, very, very effective use of the realm warp.
Yeah.
Go for it. Launch off on that.
Right. Oh.
You.
Yes, we did. I mean, I think the thing for me is, look, it's bold for us to pick Rise in the next game, seeing that we had our cast off mid laner playing it in the game that we should have lost right before that. But it just felt like, I mean, it was causing us problems, and it was one of those things where, they would use it to good effect around Dragon. They would all show up in a spot that I think, clearly we just weren't expecting them to all be there, and they were all there. And, it caused us to use some things defensively, and it's CLG, right? So they didn't then realm warp and wipe us, which I think if we were playing probably a better team, they honestly would have. Like, there were some of those fights where I was like, you guys should have definitely pushed that, because we were like,
we die.
We had boxer knees, like we had just been hit hard, and you let us hang out on the ropes for a second, and then we regrouped and it was fine. But I mean, and that's Damonte pressing R and getting his team into these spots. So, but I do think that it's a big part of that. What makes it look so good is the next game where we weren't able to do the same thing.
Where we played the same champ with different result.
Yeah. So that hurt. Like, that is one of those games,
and
early on with this team, it was like, oh, we're playing Golden Guardians. Like, definitely want to beat those guys. The players, this is the organization that they were just at, all this stuff, yada, yada. Damonte is just the dude who got cut, right? Like, that is as straight a narrative as you get. He got cut. This other team said, we think you're good enough to play for us. And he came back, and he was giving us a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And there's not really a lot of other ways to say it.
His split push was very, very effective. There was a large section of the game where it felt like we were struggling to do anything on the map. Like, we weren't asserting any kind of play or plan on the map, and Observer would kind of get bored and then just show Damonte in top or bottom just taking a turret by himself, right? Over and over again. Like, and he way out farmed Abidaga. I don't know what the final tally was, but
he was strong.
Yeah, he was strong. He farmed up really well. He got turrets down. Like, it was a little embarrassing, not gonna lie.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm trying to pull up the scoreboard right now to see the CS in the end. It was Damonte finished 404, Abidaga 326.
That's a lot of CS.
It was around that neighborhood for a while towards the end too. Like, it just, like, he made the Rise look better than Abidaga made the Rise look, which it's a little embarrassing. Not gonna lie, it's a little embarrassing.
Yeah.
I don't think it's any kind of real statement for the future. Don't get me wrong, guys. Do not take back anything, but
it does make me, actually, it makes me wonder. When I was watching this game, I actually said, I think, like, I always wondered why we didn't play Damonte on Rise more, because it seems to be like, I remember a couple of games where we played him on Rise, and I just don't feel like it worked very well for us for whatever reason. It plays to his strengths, right? Like, if you think about Damonte and what our best look with him was, it was always on a champion who had high mobility, like a semi or a global ult. And this just increases that factor, right? Where it's like, not only am I going to show up in some places you don't expect, I'm bringing my friend, right? We're both here now. And this, like, he did that in top lane at one point and got a kill early on, So it makes me wonder how much of what we know about Damonte is just Damonte with Ziggs or Zix, sorry. And, like, that play style just didn't work. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going that far, buddy. But anyway,
because he gave us a lot of trouble, and clearly he wasn't playing like a bad mid laner.
Yeah, he had some extra motivation and extra resources stuff. But anyway,
we'll see.
Not to talk about Damonte too much on our Thieves spot. Thank goodness it was CLG, right?
Yeah.
If it's not CLG, we lose. But since it's CLG, they threw at Baron. I don't know what that was all about. It was like they were in full position to win. They actually backed off when they shouldn't have backed off. Then they got kind of like, I don't know, I can't even remember how, but they took damage that got their health bars kind of low. 3 of them hanging out by pit still when they should have finally backed off. And then Someday just goes over the wall and says hello.
Yeah, and then closer.
And then closer gets there as well.
Clean up.
So yeah, there was a lot of damage that went into that team. Closer, I think, got like a triple off of that or something.
It was a quadra.
It was a quadra, and then yeah, we win those. So I don't know, man. Like distilling the weekend down, like if you give like the 10-word version of each game, it's like we threw and lost to C9. CLG bailed us out with a throw. Immortals stomped us. That's not a week to be proud of, man.
No, it's not. No, it's certainly not.
We talked about some of the Immortals thing already. We talked about the Tom Kench. I think was the single biggest thing, right? Was the Tom Kench pick. We saw how powerful it was. We saw the guy send 4 after him after that base defense, and he almost killed one.
Yeah.
And lived for about 7.5 minutes in that fight.
It took Rise realm warping in to finally stop him. That's not good.
It's like you remember there's like Ultra Tank Scion meta for a while, which is like he would just be impossible to kill. It's like you would spend everything trying to kill him, and then it would be like, oh, Guardian Angel.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, Zillion Res or something like that, you know?
That's what it was. It was Guardian Angel, Zillion Res, and then his zombie mode. You kill him 3 times fight. You know, and by the time you've killed him 3 times, it doesn't matter how great you are. He, you know, the rest of the team, even if it was piloted by, you know, a bunch of bots, still has enough damage to kill you.
Yeah.
And that was a little bit what this was. We poured so much into this Tom Kench. We killed him multiple times in every fight that we had against him. So if you just look just purely at HP and how much he had is on the scorecard. But you had to kill him twice or 3 times. And he does a crazy amount of damage. And he can completely devour a charging Ornn.
Yeah, we've learned that too. And one of those final fights, by the way, like we spent so much getting him low, which I don't know, like I have to watch the fights again and be like, look, was there a reason we can't just target somebody that we can actually kill? But whatever, we dumped a lot into him, and he just based and TP'd back in. And it was like, okay. Well, we don't have those things anymore to use.
Right. Yeah, all of our ults are still on cooldown, so hold please. I think the problem was you can't just ignore him. He is too dangerous. And because he has access to anywhere in your base while he's in your base, if you don't kill him, he is on your carry, and that person is dead super fast. Because even if he doesn't just like burst them down, which he has a lot of damage, he's going to devour him and then spit him back to his team, and they're gone. Right?
Yeah.
It was an incredibly problematic champ. I wish we could play it.
It was horrible.
I wish we could play it.
It was horrible. And I don't know. Like, okay, so the casters called out that he did not take Aftershock, and instead he took Phase Rush onto the set, and like, all right, so he's not going to be tanky like he usually is, and blah 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 blah. I'm not smart enough to know what the math is there.
Yeah,
I will say that that's how it really seemed to play out. Is that he could not get a full rotation of his combo in with the shield off the Haymaker, because he would just die too fast every time. So I don't know if this is like he just got his runes wrong. I don't know what the Phase Rush thing was about. It's like, oh, I'm gonna run him down so we have, you know, some kind of threat to this comp on the engaged side. What else did we have? Let's see. We had Callista, so we can throw people in. So
yeah,
we got the Realm Warp from the Rise. We got the Lee Sin kick. So it just seems unnecessary, kind of, to me, from my dumb perspective. You actually don't need him to run fast. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
no, you're right.
It feels like that to me. I don't know. But what I do know is that, yes, he was not the same tanky Huhi. And we discovered that that's the only way Huhi said is not the most devastating thing team has to face, right? Every other game, this dude is beasting on set, and he's so annoying, and you cannot do anything about it. He just survives everything. He's always running out with, no health left, but he survived and set up like 3 kills. That's the Who He way. And it did not happen. I don't know if it was a mistake on the runes, but it was just not the same set. So we didn't even have that to work with. I mean, he can't even like ult people out and facebreaker them and like lock them down so he can take 2 others out on the other side. He just wouldn't last long enough.
Yeah. He ults in and then is dead. I remember specifically, he ulted in once, did facebreaker, and before he could even press Haymaker, he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't give you a chance to.
Yeah, he didn't get to channel it or whatever. Yeah.
No, it just died. So, I mean, that feels horrible for him.
Yeah.
Like what a helpless champion to play if you don't get to press. I think it's W. If you don't press W, it's like that's the one you need. That's the one that everybody schooled us for saying there was no damage on the champ. Like that's where the damage is.
Get him, Jordan. Get him, baby.
There truly isn't any damage.
Yeah.
He was played mid when we were talking about it.
You don't survive long enough for the damage. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't get the full rotation, the kid is not great because you're just basically, knocking somebody back a little bit and then, doing a limited stun. You're basically just pulling more people towards you who can do damage to you.
Bot lane overall, this was definitely the worst weekend that they've had. FBI in particular, if you take the aggregate of his KDA from this weekend, he was 3-13-15. All right. So the 15 assists sure do a lot to save him. Let me pull him up on Oracle's Elixir because, like, honestly, that's like inverting his usual thing. It's worse than that, to be honest.
Right.
The man has historically been such a beast this split, but yeah, just not the same this weekend. Whatever reason it was, I didn't actually take Who He's KDA and do the aggregate of that. But let me pull up FBI here. Sorry, 1 second, guys. I was not really.
Man, playing a tanky champ or a champ that can be built tanky when you're not tanky and you're not hitting your power spikes.
Yeah.
Just the worst feeling. Like melee, no range, no chance to even like try to hit abilities from afar. Like you have to be in the middle taking damage to do anything.
Yep.
What a rough game.
So he's 4.5 KDA on the season. And that's including this bad weekend. So he was higher than that before that. But you're looking at him being barely over 1. He's like maybe 1.4 on the weekend.
Right.
Just not his usual self. And it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to win when that's happening. I have not been convinced by him on Callista. Excuse me. I don't think we've seen it a whole lot. Let's see. I remember a win. Let me see who this win was against. Where I was like, yeah, Callista, but nah. It was, sorry guys, it was against C9 actually. We took Callista Nautilus. I remember just not feeling super convinced by the Callista out of him. This is actually only the second time he's played, but I haven't liked it either time. So I don't know. I think like what we're seeing though is definitely the team is out of whack, right? And so what fans are asking and what we're asking to is like, what are the underlying reasons? How do we go from being virtually untouchable in the LCS to now being figured out? So one of the things I started to point out was double marksman.
Yep.
Double marksman.
This game against Immortals, by the way, was a devastating one from Insanity.
Yeah. We have I think for like 2 or 3 weeks now I've been pointing to double marksman as something that like works against us. 4 of our last 5 losses have been into double marksman. It was played a couple times early in the split, I think, to less success against us, but now it has really started to come online and work. I don't know what that means. It's like, what does that mean about Abadaga?
Yeah.
When we saw him play the Lucian, it did not look effective.
I mean, yeah, I don't really know. Like, I don't think it means that he can't have a good game against the Lucian. Like, because I don't feel like in all of these he has become, you know, neutralized. Like I have to go back and look specifically, but I'm pretty sure there's been games where we've been playing Delusion and he still is a threat and he still can kind of do his job. I just wonder if it maybe like, I don't know, man. I'm with you. Like I can't figure out. I don't know. I guess what I'll say is I don't know if it's saying as much about Abadaga, if it is as about saying it as much about like our team fighting when we're up against that. Because I just have all of these memories of like there was one against Insanity where we had basically won a fight and then he came through as the second wave of damage and absolutely cleaned us out.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I don't know if it's a team fight thing where it's just the dynamic of having that secondary threat who can be a constant threat. And it's not all about, are they part of the initial engage or, you know, are they hitting their poke? Is just constant damage presence. Like maybe that's part of it. That plays well into our kind of more standard setup composition with the Ornn. You blow the horn, and then after that, it's like, you know, he soaks up a culling and he's done, and that's it. So I don't know.
Yeah. So you know, someone in chat was talking about how double marksman is very meta right now. It's like, yeah, yes. So we got to either play it or play against it well if we want to be a top team. And that's what I'm saying. It's like that's an effective strat against us no matter what we're doing against it, which is worrying, right? After week 2 of this split, I didn't think that this was the kind of team that would just get continually outplayed by something, right? So if we're seeing over a period of like 3 weeks that double marksman is beating us and we're not fixing that, that's just not what my read was on the staff and the players. So problematic. And it probably does go into, you know, what we were talking about with the meta. I think someone pointed out that in on the crackdown today, Abadaga said he didn't think we have like a really good meta read right now. We talked earlier on in the split about how like there could be a patch that just shifts us off our game and if we don't read it right. And so far we've read it very right. We've been predictive and it's been good, but there could be that thing. Maybe that's all there is to it, but it doesn't feel like that to me. Do you get the sense that it's just meta or do you get the sense that there's more going on?
I mean, I think I'm kind of with you. It's like, if you just have a bad read on the meta, isn't that like a 1 to 2 week thing where it's like, we're still trying to stuff that was working before. We haven't really adapted yet. I mean, at this point, how much longer do we even have on this patch? Like when does I guess the playoff patch will probably be coming up pretty soon and they'll lock it in. I'm expecting it's not this patch. I don't know for sure, but we've had this.
I mean, we've only got 1 more week of regular season, so it probably is.
Right. So like, I'm kind of guessing though that we do they always do a different one? Maybe chat will know.
I'm not sure.
They always do a different one.
Yeah, maybe chat always knows more than us. He says playoff patch is the live patch. All right. Well, there we go. That's bad news. So, everybody, bad news rip.
So, you know, for me, it's like, well, what don't you know about this meta that you're
still trying to figure out? Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it's like, we just can't play the champs. And this is what is so weird to me because the first part of the split, we were just doing everything. We were playing everything. Everybody was playing everything. We had FBI on Lee Sin for Pete's sake. Like, you tell me that that's not meta forward and you're wrong. So I don't know why now it feels like all we can do is play, you know, the 2 strongest champions in each position, even though Viego still hasn't had a good game for us. You know, It's like, move on, find the next thing. And I think that's what I expect us to do based only on what I've seen us do so far. Like, not because I have these expectations that, well, as the number 1 team in the LCS, we should be doing these things. I just have seen us do it. So I guess for me, that's where I'm confused. I don't know why we're not still doing this. And the only thing I can think of is we like, it feels weird to even say our players aren't skilled enough on the champions that we need them to be. Like, is the reason we're not picking up Tom Kench?
Yeah.
Because somebody can't play him? I mean, I guess it's possible. And I think if there's anywhere on the rift that I'd say, like, maybe this is one that we just don't have the same degree of confidence in the person picking it up, it might be that.
But like I said, with the Tom Kench, like, it's just hard to imagine somebody not playing that kind of champion well. By the way, clarification coming through from Charlie. He says, that it is the live patch for like the public, but pro is behind. So it's not until the start of playoffs that we go on to the current live patch. So we're still on 11-14, and then 11-15 is live. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe good, maybe bad.
Probably bad.
I think it's if we're having a hard time adapting to new patches, then we're going to have even less time to do it on the playoff patch.
Yeah. So, so we talked about the meta, and we talked about like a little bit of the draft stuff, and we've alluded to the team's decision making and shot calling as well. I think like that's even more of an issue right now. Is it just seems like we have reverted to reactions instead of like asserting our plan on the map. So we just wait for a team to screw up, and if they don't screw up, oh darn. Or if, we're trying to extend our lead or make use of a lead that we've built up, instead of using the tempo and making plays, we're like sitting and farming extra waves when we don't really need to, or just reacting and moving slower than we should. And it seems like the hive mind that formed early on, when it was all about like, look, just do your thing, be who you are, play who you want to play, the way you want to play, and I'll be right there with you. And just like everybody goes, that's just missing at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've noticed with increasing frequency, Abbedagge just on the back of fights, like not able to get in, waiting for a flank, or like, Perks is probably right here, so want to be in position to pop him, and then that opportunity never really happens, and he's not able to contribute his damage. Or the team's fighting and Abbedagge is split pushing, but he doesn't get the full turret. And like there just seems to be, I don't know if what we've seen in Thieves past has been eventually the team loses faith in a player, and then the better players kind of take their feet off the gas a little bit because they don't feel like they're fully backed up. Wondering if Abbedagge is getting that sense where he's like, this team is like, maybe someday is not holding up his lifting the way he should, or like, it's hard to point out Closer, because I feel like Closer has found a way to be effective even when he's gotten like really out farmed early on and out pathed early on. It feels like he's still effective, so I'd point more towards someday, but it doesn't. It still feels to me like Abbedagge doesn't have the full buy-in anymore that he had at the beginning. So I'm getting that sense where it's just like, just the trust isn't there as much.
Yeah.
You're not buying it?
No, I guess I am. It's hard because it's so unexpected at this point.
Yes, it really is.
So I think it's hard to even say what might be going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Because it, like we talked about, I think back to the first time we started to have kind of this conversation about someday and honestly, I think it was partially spurred by his tweets following games where he'd say like, I didn't play that well today. Thanks to my team for the carry. Like that was kind of his sentiment, or at least what he put out in response to the games. And that happened a couple times. And I remember us talking about how, like, how worried are we? And I went to not that worried. And at the time it was because I felt like he's not carrying these games as he has in the past, or as we've seen him do on occasion. But my thought at the time was, it doesn't really matter, because you have basically every other option is a carry option.
Yeah.
Closer's still carrying games for us. Abbedagge at that time, like he was routinely having games. Yeah. And then bot lane is bot lane, right? So I kind of, at the time, I was kind of like, look, if you're telling me that someday is going to not be able to single-handedly win a game, like, okay, well, we have good thing we have three other hands, right? And so maybe it's because our bot lane is getting popped earlier than than they have in games past, where we've seen them lose 2v2s We've seen teams focus them in the bot lane. Maybe the team is overall feeling like they just don't have as many carry options. And like, look, when I say closers carrying some of these games, it's like desperation triples and quadras, right? Like that, that is kind of where the game turns in a lot of these. It's not because he's just taken over the game.
Yeah.
That feels different to me, and that's not a reliable way to win games. You can't expect somebody to be able to do that, steal a Drake and then get a quadra, a cleanup quadra, but a quadra at a Baron. That's not a high percentage look if that's what your plan is.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it feels especially bad as a fan, because if you would have talked about the Immortals game a week ago in any sort of depth, which we didn't, but was like, hey, and you know what? Like, the ADC scores are going to be 1, 6, and 3 into 4, 2, and 14. And you would have told me that FBI was the 1, 6, and 3. I would have, like, my jaw would have been on the floor. Right. Yeah. But that's what happened. Like, and so it's like the final pillar, the final, like, unbreakable pillar of 100T, which is like, okay, but we always have FBI hoo-hee. That wasn't working this weekend. So what do we have right now? That's the problem. The problem is restoring the confidence of these players, restoring the trust in each other, and getting them in a position where they can perform. That's the challenge. And that's what I'm worried about, because here's what's happened, in my opinion. Okay. I'm the one who always says, I don't want my team to be undefeated. I want my team to take some losses, especially going into the playoffs. Okay. I want them to lose, to know that they're mortal. To show what are the things that they have to work on. That's how I like things to happen. Okay. But we've crossed the threshold here. You know what I mean? Like, that only is good for 2 or 3 games. All right. Yeah. But as I mentioned, we're 4 and 5 in our last 9 games. We're under 500 right now. Right. And that has crossed the line. You know what I mean? We're beyond useful losses, in my opinion. Right. We're going to talk more about this during listener takes, because there are still some people out there who think that a lot of this is due to experimentation from us. I think that take is not meta right now, personally. I think it's beyond that. And it's certainly like, it's not like we're not trying anything different in these games or whatever, but that's not why we're losing. You know what I mean? And the changes that we've made are pretty small, pretty minor tweaks, you know? And so I'm much more the mind that, like, we've actually lost enough that the guys are starting to break down. Like the team unit breaks down. Because when you lose a lot, it just starts to feel bad. You start to feel cursed. You start to feel broken. You start to wonder whose fault it is, instead of like being able to brush off the losses, which is what you want, you know? So you want to lose 2 or 3 games, you know, and then for the last 2 weeks of the regular season still be all good. Yeah. And that's not what's happening at the moment. So momentum is a thing. We've learned that, right? Momentum is definitely a thing for esports. And now we've put ourselves in a position where even a 3-0 weekend this coming weekend may not be enough to build the momentum where it should be in the right place. And a 3-0 weekend would be a pretty tough thing to achieve this weekend as well. Right. So in my mind, we're kind of like in the danger zone and not like danger, like, whoa, we're an 8th place team or whatever. We're not. We're not Immortals. Okay. Despite them beating us, the gap is still there. We're not that. But when it comes to contending for the LCS title, which that's what I want to see. Yeah, we've gone over our limit. We've used the strikes up, you know? Yep. So that's what I'm worried about. Am I overreacting?
I don't think so. No, I'm worried. I mean, I think you're right. Like the thing that feels most concerning to me, it's like there are helpful losses, and then there are losses that just cause you to question things that you shouldn't be questioning, right? Like you should have your fundamentals set to the point where it feels like, well, this is inarguable. Like this is how we play the game. And we know that this works. And if we just stop doing X, Y, or Z things, then we can patch this up. But I kind of look at these games, I'm like, I don't know what that thing is. Like if I'm going into the review from last week's games this week, like what's the thing that you would say, well, let's just do this differently, you know? I mean, honestly, part of what I'm concerned about is that maybe the thing is what I had said I don't think is a problem. If the map becomes imbalanced, and if you have the ability to pull people from different places from the map and focus on what has always been our strongest place in the bot lane, like maybe that's maybe that's partially what is causing us to break down. And that's why our bot lane has had these numbers that they've had lately. But I don't even know how much that's true, because I do feel like sometimes, and I just, I think back to some of these like snap engages from the rel. It feels like that's where it all started to kind of come crumbling down. That was just a 2v2. We're just getting outplayed in some 2v2s, That's just, there's nothing else there other than they got us on that one. And I think that we're seeing some of those, right? So I don't know, man. But I think you're right. Like this is not the time or the place to be having these kinds of scenarios play out where we're not sure what to do about these things to address them, because we're running out of time. We have 3 chances left before it's high stakes.
Yeah, to restore momentum. Thank goodness TSM is spotting us losses here and there so that we're still tied for first place. But as was pointed out to us, I mean, like the head-to-head tiebreaker goes back to spring. So we actually need to surge ahead in the records to be able to get the first seed out of TSM. So a lot of stuff to work on. Let's hit some listener takes. A lot of them tie into what we've already talked about, so I think we can kind of just burn through most of them. But starting with Squizomatic said, I think earlier season we were strong because we were way ahead on meta reads, and now other teams are catching up on our weaker in-game macros being exposed because there isn't such a colossal draft difference anymore. Right on with what we're saying. I especially like the connection to like draft diff was huge early on, and without that difference, there's that covered a multitude of sins, right? Now we don't really have that to help us out. So I think this is a good way of putting it. Lucas Center Lion said 100 Thieves. This might be a little more inflammatory. 100 Thieves aren't even a top 3 team anymore. Hurts to say, but we have 0 macro when we have a lead, and it shows. Can you refute this?
I mean, it's if we lose to C9, if we're gonna lose to EG, if we lose to TSM, I mean, these are ifs. I'm not saying that we will, or that like these teams are better than us, but right now, these teams certainly have more momentum, and that would make us a top 4 team. So I think it's hard to say that he's way off on that. We're just not playing. I think you need to see us bounce back to what we have played like in the past to be able to say, okay, we have found it again. And I don't think it's impossible. Like I don't think that this team is doomed,
I don't think we're lost. Yeah.
No, but right now, I think that's about right. It's like we're not playing. We're under 500 in 9 games. That's 3 weekends.
Yeah.
I think you'd have a hard time arguing that we're top 3.
Yeah.
Right. Like top 3 teams don't go under 500 over that long of a spell.
Yeah. So when you differentiate between ceiling and current form, I think it's right on the money, right? It's hard to argue that we're top 3 in current form.
I mean, maybe you could take issue with any more versus right now, but you're just nitpicking at that point, right? Like, yeah. So, I mean, we'll learn a lot from this. This is, look, if you want to test your metal, this is the closing weekend to do it with. And we'll do predictions in a minute. But yeah, this is kind of put it to the test.
So building off of that, Hot Maple Toddy on Twitter says, it is now time to hit the panic button. If we can't beat the teams we were supposed to beat, how are we going to make a run in the playoffs? That's what he said. That's a good point, though. That again, like a lot of the reason I like to read some of the takes, even if we've kind of already talked about this, is because a lot of the times people say things in a really simple way that makes like a good point, which is Yeah, we're supposed to be immortals. TSM, C9, like you said, EG, maybe we're not going to beat them. Maybe it's a coin flip or something like that. We're supposed to beat the 7th place team, though. You know? And that's right. So if we're not taking care of those teams, how are we going to make a run in playoffs? The great hope is the best of 5, right? If we can, you know, if our earlier theories about this team were true, that we've got a lot of looks, we can win in a lot of ways, you know, then we're good in a best of 5. But it's looking a little shaky along those lines right now. Glenn E.
I'm really starting to feel like it's going to come down to the new patch.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to.
Like, we need to do something special.
Yeah. Glenn E. Taylor says, not a take per se, but Oracle Elixir, the comps run. So he's saying, take a look at the comps we've chosen. There is some experimentation. So top weak side on an actual tank, more scaling versus win lane, win game. And he says, more concerned if this isn't a long con prepping for best of 5s. E.g., does the team know how to play against Exodia with Gwen, Lucian, etc. Right? So this one's tough for me. I still am not. I think we're beyond the experimentation point for this team. It would require a intestinal fortitude off the charts to be able to continue to play things you don't think are our best chance for winning in the current situation that we're in.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like we're still battling for seeding. We are battling to keep our players confident and feeling good and, you know, feeling the way they should. We're battling for their mentals. I don't think I'd be toying around with it at this point. And I don't truly think we are.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I would buy into that more if we were running things that are widely considered to be almost like off meta picks that are recognized as viable counters. Like somebody played a Malzahar over the weekend into a LeBlanc. And I was like, oh yeah, makes total sense, right? You just suppress the LeBlanc and then she is the easiest kill in the game. And, you know, like things like that, right? Like, oh yeah, if you play this person against Gwen, makes it pretty hard for Gwen to do anything. But we're not doing that really. We're just playing it feels like we're almost doing like a trade on what the meta champs are. And we're losing the trade, right? Like it feels like we're genuinely just trying to do kind of like the standard draft brinksmanship, which is like who can squeeze the most out of the meta right now based on what you can play and what you practice and what you're confident with, instead of, you know, have you considered Ziggs bot lane? You know, it's like, are you ready for that? Of course, now everybody is, but when we first did it, you know, it was quite new and surprising. So that is to me where it feels like we're not experimenting. We're just trying our best and not working.
Yeah. Our dear friend BC says, one thing that stuck with me from the show today with Abba, so he's watching the Crackdown, was talking about how Reaper, when he came in, he instructed the players to play their game and would coach around that, which when we had a good read on the meta worked great. Now I wonder if we are viewing the issues when we do not have a strong macro game built in to back up strong players. And so, you know, a shift from, you know, the way we want to play the game is compatible with what we're doing. And now it's like, okay, maybe we don't have such a great fit in that regard. In that case, we need to have strong macro to play the game for our players who are good players to get the job done. Interesting theory. I think we're pointing to that a lot. Probably very correct.
Yeah.
Daddy Titan says, all right, get your hot take glasses on, your hot take goggles on. Says 100T will not make worlds. He didn't say they're not a top 3 team right now. He said 100T will not make worlds. The team is really sinning in draft by allowing champs like Gwen and Tom Kench to get through without appropriate answers, along with still not having a good response to champs we've tended to struggle against like Volibear and Viego. It still feels like our whole game plan is still just to win lane and hope the enemy team agrees to fight us with a gold lead and end the game off of that. When teams play safe and don't give us free picks and fights, we really, really struggle to end the game. cites FlyQuest and says, "Hope I'm wrong." 100%.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong? The thing that I'm not so convinced on is 100T will not make worlds. Jury's out on that for me. But everything else that you're saying, yeah, those are real issues, real problems. I think a nice take on what our general habits are.
Yeah, I do feel like it's, I think there are enough viable champs who are in that kind of like ever-present tier that it does become really hard to not let somebody through that is going to be considered like you shouldn't have, you should have known better or done better. There's just a lot of really good champs right now, and that's what it feels like, at least. So I agree, though. I mean, I think, and that's what I think I was feeling optimistic about, is playing meta forward as we did. Felt like we had good answers. Either we were playing the things that people would be playing in the weeks to come, or we had good answers ready for the things that people wanted to be playing and they were excited to get their hands on, and I think that is, we don't have that currently. Boy, do we need it back. That was a major strength for us.
Yeah, definitely need it back. Well, it's time to talk about predictions for this upcoming week to close out the split, the regular season of the split. And Jordan, on Friday, this very Friday, we have a match against TSM, tied with us for first place at 28-14. Last weekend, they won against Golden Guardians and C9, who beat us. And they lost to a surging EG. Can we call? I'm going to stop saying surging now, since they've been good for like 4 or 5 weeks. They lost to a strong, good EG. Where are you coming out on the prediction against TSM this weekend?
Okay.
He's channeling. I can see the League of Legends channeling above him right now.
I'm getting ready to do my junior prophesying. Did I get it right this time?
Yes, you did. Good job.
Yes. All right. That's the first step to be able to start to stake the claim. All right, cool. I think it's this. The narrative is this: we have always beat these teams, except for once, and it's C9. And by these teams, I mean TL, TSM, C9.
Yeah.
We lost to C9, but we shouldn't have, in some ways. We lost to C9, but we shouldn't have. And we beat CLG, and we shouldn't have, which kind of goes a little bit more with the theme. I believe in the theme. I think we can beat TSM, and boy, do we need to. I think we can beat TSM. I'm just going to pick us to win it. I don't really have a great reason why. I'm really concerned that Huni is going to smash. He's pretty good.
So that our curse is complete, right?
Yeah. Yes. So I just have to fully resign from even watching League of Legends.
That's right.
So yeah, I think this is a huge game. This is a huge weekend. I'm just going to say it once during prediction. I'm not going to say it for every game. Every one of these games is huge for us for different reasons. I think we can beat TSM because we have consistently fared well against these teams. And I really want to believe that we can. I'm picking us. I don't have a great reason.
The thing against TSM that I've always pointed out is just our matchup against them. Whatever it is, we know them well, and we play well against them, and we figure them out, and we neutralize what they want to do. That's always been the thing against TSM. But Jordan, hot dog, if this isn't a Friday game, game, you forgot, you missed the most important part of the analysis. This is a game on Friday.
Crap.
Along with the fact that momentum, man, we're in the worst place mentally that we've been all split, for sure. Okay. So unless Master Roshi gets in and does his weird magic, therapeutic magic on them and completely pulls them out of the funk, we're going to be in our worst mental state of the split. And we're coming into a Friday game when historically we've kind of underperformed, and we're playing a team who just beat C9 and, lost to EG, but I don't think TSM lacks confidence. And you know what? It's just hard to win like to sweep a team in a split. It's just hard.
Mhm.
I cannot in good conscience say we're going to win this game. So I will not.
Okay.
We're going to lose this game against TSM.
Oh man.
Book it. That's going to bring us to Saturday against the Golden Guardians, who are in ninth place at 12-30.
Oh,
Coming off a specialty Golden Guardians week of 0-3, losing to CLG. Are they good? Maybe. They did pretty well against us, you know. They lost to TSM as well. And they lost to the team that you probably haven't heard of in quite some time, and that's Team Liquid.
they played Jenkins. That's why, right?
I don't even know, but I'd be laughing really hard if you're right.
No, they played Alfari.
Golden Guardians, 0-3 weekend, ninth place, 12-30. Jordan, do we win? Don't forget, they smacked us down last time we played.
I know.
It was not close. It was not close. They iconic rolled us in that game.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Oh my gosh. I think I'm being baited here. Cole, we win this game. We have to win this game. If we lose this game,
We win the game because we have to.
I'm going purely based on how destroyed our season is at this point. There's only 3 games left, and each one of these games is just a predictor of how we'll fare in the playoffs. We have to win this game, Cole. We're going to win it. I almost think we prepare less for the other two, just knowing that we have to win this game.
I do not think that's going to happen because Golden Guardians will not be an opponent in playoffs. So I don't think we're going to be spending too much time scouting them. However, Jordan, if it has been that we all season, what our pride was, you know, we're going to beat those top teams when it matters. We're going to win the one that counts. And yeah, we may misstep against those not as good teams when we're not really watching for those opponents. We're not really checking for them. But we get the job done when it matters. Well, for things to truly come apart, like every 100 Thieves fan knows deep in their heart,
No.
it has to flip. And we win against Golden Guardians because we start beating the bad teams and losing to the good ones.
I'm glad to hear that you think that there is an inverse relationship there.
There
It's not just
definitely is.
a correlation. And now we're losing to everybody.
There definitely is. Yeah.
Okay.
We're just gonna get it back. It'll be a gritty game. But bot diff, always bot diff.
Always.
Which will take us into Sunday against EG, the evil geniuses.
Oh man.
Who are tied for third at this moment, 26-16. It's hard to believe that they're still 2 games behind. But alas, they are. They were 2-1 the past week. They won against TSM and CLG, but lost to the Mad at 100 Talk Pod Immortals, who had my tweet on their cork boards this week, right hung up on the wall right next to the fire alarm.
We didn't even talk about this, Cole. We probably lost these games because we were playing remote. We're a stronger team on stage. What are we thinking? How do we miss that?
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's all Immortals.
It's all Immortals. But anyway.
And they went 3-0.
They did.
How is this not?
I mean, when you're not able to watch Immortals in studio, they get tricky. But yeah, so EG, who we are playing this weekend, on the last game of the split, which, I mean, broadcast-wise, LCS is getting it done, right? They have tied for first place match on Friday, and then on Sunday they get 100 Thieves versus EG. That's pretty good. Yeah, so they beat TSM and CLG, but they lost to Immortals. Jordan, do we win?
All right. Immortals lost to EG. They played Ignar on Tom Kench. Horrible mistake. 0-2-0. The feckless scoreline. Just doing nothing the whole time. Danny on Aphelios. 0-4-0. You know, of course, they played Tom Kench support. This looks honestly like one of our scorelines from last weekend. So, I think that they're going to beat us. I think they are. They're hot. They've been hot. I think they're a stronger and more consistent team than we are at this point, honestly. And we got a lot of work to do before we can get back to the point where we're reliably beating teams who are, solid like them. And I think for a lot of this split, the other teams that we've been beating up aren't that.
Yeah.
The TSMs, the TLs, the C9s. The Evil Geniuses peaking at the right time.
Evil Geniuses, they've won 12 of their last 14. They are 12-2 over the last 14 games. It's been a pretty good run for them.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't really get it. It doesn't look like they're that good when I watch them. But my eyes are broken and so is my brain. Jordan, I'm sad to report that we do lose this game. It's a 1-2 weekend coming up for us. Again, just at a low. We're just at a low. And because we were so confident all season long, we're just going to be in that funk at the end of the split, just like you knew we would. I don't know rankings wise where that puts us. I don't know how that would play out.
Almost certainly behind TSM because you predict we lose the head-to-head.
The problem is it only the top 2 teams that get buys?
I don't know.
Or is it top 4? Chat will answer that quickly for us, I'm sure.
It's 8.
Yes, it's only
8.
top 2. So this is exactly the kind of thing that happened to us. We fall right out. We lose the bye in the last weekend. And suddenly we have to play more series than we were intending. This is going to be a rough weekend for 100 Thieves. Prophet Cole has spoken, so shall it be.
Bummer. I'm bummed to hear that.
Bum. So make your plans now. Make your coping plans now. Order your copium in advance.
Yeah.
Because it's going to run out. It's going to sell out like 100 Thieves drop. 100 Thieves drop will be copium this weekend. Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific time. 100 Thieves copium.
Oh, no. I feel like I can't get ahead of us now to ask what you think we're going to do in playoffs, but you're not giving me confidence that you think this is going to be a deep run, Cole. I don't want to get into it now because we got to conclude the show. But we'll have a lot to talk about next week. Either way.
I'll say this. The way we finish the season is almost certainly going to determine whether we make Worlds. I feel like this last weekend, if we have a good weekend and the guys feel good, we're going to be in position to make Worlds. If we don't, I'm seriously concerned about making Worlds. That's what I'll say.
Yep. Man. So not where I expected to be on the season finale eve podcast.
Yep. We will have to see, fans and friends. Thanks for being with us though. We did Valorant Rec League on Thursday. It was so much fun. We're going to do it again in the near future. We're also going to do a Wreck-It League for Rocket League at some point in the not too distant future once we figure that out. Wow. But this week will be League of Legends again. So hang around, watch our Twitter on Wednesday. We'll tweet out the sign-up forms. League of Legends incoming this week. And who knows? Maybe we'll find a way to have some time to do either a stream or just live tweeting or something of the action this weekend. We'll do what we can because this is a big one for the fans. And as your fathers, we want to be there for you. So
we do. I want to be there for me. I want to be there to support myself.
Good. Make yourself available for yourself.
Somebody's going to need to support me through this if it doesn't go great. I'm just going to put that out there. And I'm looking at me.
Jordan's going to text me with crying emojis, and I'm just going to say, VOD Squad. No spoilers.
And I say, wow, just crying because I stubbed my toe so bad. Tears
of joy here. Well, yeah, I think that's about it. So, guys, we'll see you later. Crockpot said, can we watch party in the Discord? Yes, go for it. You guys are authorized to do that. If we can be there, we will. It's going to be a very important week for Under Thieves League of Legends. I truly believe this is the make or break week. So,
yeah,
we shall see. We'll wrap there. So, thanks everyone for everything. As always, we love you. and we miss you already.